Hello, English learners. Welcome back to another informative and engaging episode of our podcast. I am Jennifer, and we are excited to have you here with us again as we discuss a topic that is making headlines around the world.
And I am Elizabeth. That is right, Jennifer. Today, we are diving into one of the most important political events happening this year, one that will have a major impact not just on the United States, but on the entire world, the 2024 U.S. elections.
Yes, the U.S. elections are always a significant event, but this year's election is shaping up to be especially important. There is a lot at stake, with big issues like the economy, healthcare, foreign policy, and climate change all playing a role in shaping the political landscape.
Exactly. The 2024 elections are not just about electing a new president, although that is certainly a big part of it. There are also elections for Congress, state governors, and many local officials. All of these elections combined will shape the future of U.S. policy and governance.
And as always, we will not only be discussing the facts, but also helping you improve your English by introducing useful vocabulary and phrases along the way. By the end of this episode, we hope you'll have a better understanding of the U.S. election process and the key issues that are at stake this year.
Yes, and today's topic is perfect for expanding your English vocabulary around politics and government. So let us start by breaking down the basics of how the U.S. election system works. Jennifer, could you give us an overview?
Of course. In the U.S., elections take place every 2 years, but the most important elections happen every 4 years, when Americans vote for their president. The 2024 election is a presidential election year, which means voters will be choosing their next president, as well as members of Congress.
Right. The U.S. has what is called a representative democracy, which means that instead of voting directly on laws, citizens vote for representatives who will make decisions on their behalf. In a presidential election, voters are not just voting for the president directly. They are actually voting for electors in a system called the Electoral College.
That is correct. The Electoral College is a unique system in the U.S. In most other countries, the winner of the popular vote becomes the leader, but in the U.S., the president is chosen by electors from each state. Each state has a certain number of electoral votes based on its population, and in almost all cases, the candidate who wins the majority of votes in a state wins all of that state's electoral votes.
Yes, this system can sometimes lead to situations where a candidate wins the presidency even though they did not win the popular vote, which happened in both the 2000 and 2016 elections. It is a system that has been debated for many years, but it remains in place for the 2024 election.
That is right. And in 2024, the candidates for president will be battling it out in key battleground states. These are states where the election could go either way, and they are often the deciding factor in who wins the presidency. States like Florida, Pennsylvania, and Arizona are expected to play a big role this year.
Yes, the battleground states are always crucial in U.S. elections. These are the states where the candidates will spend most of their time and resources because winning in these states can make the difference between victory and defeat.
Absolutely. But it is not just the presidency that is up for grabs in 2024. There are also elections for all 435 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, as well as 34 seats in the Senate. Control of Congress is just as important as the presidency because without congressional support, it is very difficult for the president to pass new laws.
That is a very important point, Jennifer. The U.S. government has a system of checks and balances, which means that no single branch of government has too much power. The president needs the support of Congress to pass most laws, and the courts can also play a role in deciding whether laws are constitutional.
Yes, the system of checks and balances is a key part of the U.S. political system, and it is one of the reasons why congressional elections are so important. If one party controls the presidency and the other controls Congress, it can lead to gridlock, where very little gets done because the two sides cannot agree on new laws.
Exactly. So, as you can see, the 2024 U.S. elections are about much more than just electing a president. They are about shaping the entire direction of the country for the next 4 years and possibly beyond.
That is right. And now that we have a basic understanding of how the U.S. election system works, let us take a closer look at the key issues that are driving the 2024 election. There are several big topics that are dominating the political conversation this year, and these issues will likely play a major role in determining the outcome of the election.
Yes, one of the biggest issues in the 2024 election is the economy. The U.S., like many other countries, has been dealing with the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and many voters are concerned about things like inflation, unemployment, and the cost of living.
That is right. The economy is always a major issue in U.S. elections, but this year, it seems to be even more important. Voters want to know how the candidates will handle rising prices, the job market, and economic inequality. Some candidates are focusing on tax cuts and reducing government spending, while others are proposing new programs to help struggling families and workers.
Yes, and that is one of the big differences between the two major political parties in the U.S. The Republican Party tends to favor lower taxes and less government involvement in the economy, while the Democratic Party is more likely to support government programs to help those in need and reduce inequality.
Exactly. And this year, the debate over the economy also includes discussions about the minimum wage, healthcare costs, and student loan debt. Many young voters, in particular, are concerned about the cost of education and whether they will be able to afford a college degree without taking on huge amounts of debt.
Yes, the issue of student loan debt is a big one in 2024. Many young people in the U.S. graduate from college with tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and this can make it difficult for them to buy a home, start a family, or even save for the future. Some candidates are proposing to cancel student loan debt or make college tuition free, while others believe that there should be other ways to address this issue.
Yes, and that is just one of the many economic issues on the table this year. Another major issue is healthcare. The U.S. healthcare system is very different from those in many other countries, where healthcare is often provided by the government. In the U.S., most people get their health insurance through their jobs, and there are ongoing debates about how to make healthcare more affordable and accessible.
That is a big topic, Jennifer. Healthcare has been a central issue in U.S. politics for many years, and it continues to be a key concern for voters in 2024. Some candidates are pushing for a Medicare for All system where the government would provide healthcare for everyone, while others believe that the current system, which relies on private insurance, should be improved rather than replaced.
Yes, and voters are divided on this issue, just like they are on many other topics. That is one of the things that makes U.S. elections so interesting. There are so many different opinions and perspectives, and the outcome can often be hard to predict.
Exactly. And another major issue in the 2024 election is climate change. The U.S. is one of the world's largest producers of greenhouse gases, and many voters are concerned about the impact of climate change on the environment, public health, and the economy.
Yes, climate change is a huge issue, especially for younger voters who are concerned about the long-term effects of global warming. Some candidates are proposing ambitious plans to reduce carbon emissions and transition to renewable energy sources, while others are more focused on balancing environmental protection with economic growth.
That is right. There is often a tension between protecting the environment and supporting economic growth, especially in industries like oil and gas, which provide a lot of jobs but also contribute to pollution and climate change. The challenge for candidates is finding a balance between these competing priorities.
Exactly. And in addition to the economy, healthcare, and climate change, another big issue in the 2024 election is immigration. The U.S. has long been a country of immigrants, but immigration policy has been a hotly debated topic in recent years, especially when it comes to issues like border security, asylum seekers, and pathways to citizenship for undocumented immigrants.
Yes, immigration is a very divisive issue in the U.S. Some voters believe that the country needs to have stricter immigration laws and better border security, while others argue that the U.S. should be more welcoming to immigrants and offer more opportunities for people to come to the country legally.
That is right. And this debate often touches on larger questions about national identity and what it means to be an American. Some candidates are focused on enforcing immigration laws more strictly, while others are proposing reforms that would make it easier for immigrants to become legal residents or citizens.
Yes, and this is an issue that has been especially prominent in the past few years, with debates over issues like the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals or DACA program, which protects young immigrants who were brought to the U.S. as children from being deported. The future of this program is still uncertain, and it is likely to be a major issue in the 2024 election.
Yes, immigration policy is definitely something that many voters are paying close attention to, especially in states with large immigrant populations. But there are also many other issues that will play a role in this year's election, including foreign policy, gun control, and voting rights.
That is right, Jennifer. Foreign policy is always an important issue in U.S. elections, especially because the U.S. plays such a significant role in global affairs. Voters want to know how the candidates will handle relationships with other countries, including key allies and rivals like China, Russia, and the European Union.
Yes, and foreign policy also includes questions about military involvement overseas. Many voters are concerned about whether the U.S. should continue to be involved in conflicts in other parts of the world, or whether the country should focus more on domestic issues.
That is a great point. And speaking of domestic issues, one topic that has been gaining a lot of attention in recent years is voting rights. There has been a lot of debate over how easy or difficult it should be for people to vote in U.S. elections, with some states passing laws that make it harder for certain groups to vote.
Yes, voting rights are a crucial issue in 2024. Some people believe that voting should be made easier, with measures like same-day voter registration or mail-in voting, while others argue that stricter rules are needed to prevent voter fraud. This is another issue where there is a lot of division between the two major political parties.
Exactly. And all of these issues, economy, healthcare, climate change, immigration, foreign policy, and voting rights, will play a big role in shaping the outcome of the 2024 U.S. elections. But beyond the issues themselves, there is also the question of how these elections are being influenced by technology and social media.
That is a great point, Elizabeth. In recent years, we have seen social media play an increasingly important role in U.S. elections. Candidates use platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to communicate directly with voters, bypassing traditional media outlets. But there are also concerns about the spread of misinformation and the influence of foreign actors on social media.
Yes, misinformation has become a major issue in U.S. elections. False or misleading information can spread quickly on social media, and it can be difficult for voters to know what is true and what is not. This is something that both candidates and voters will need to be aware of in 2024.
Absolutely. The rise of social media has changed the way elections are run, and it is likely to continue shaping the political landscape for years to come. But despite all of these challenges, elections remain a cornerstone of democracy, and the 2024 U.S. elections will be no different.
Yes, elections are a way for people to have their voices heard and to influence the direction of their country. And in 2024, U.S. voters will have the chance to make decisions that will affect not only their own lives but the future of the country and the world.
That is right, Elizabeth. The stakes are high in the 2024 U.S. elections, and the outcome will have a lasting impact on the political, economic, and social future of the country.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. We hope that you have enjoyed this discussion about the 2024 U.S. elections and that you have learned something new both about the election process and the key issues at stake.
Yes, and as always, we hope that this episode has also helped you improve your English. We have introduced a lot of vocabulary related to politics and elections, and we encourage you to practice using these words in your own conversations.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, whether you are following the U.S. elections or elections in your own country, it is always important to stay informed and engaged.
That is right, Elizabeth. And with that, we will say goodbye for now. Be sure to join us next time for another great discussion on an important topic.